Let's go a Viking on Viking Hot Takes.
Viking Hot Takes. Welcome to week 4, the Minnesota Vikings versus the Cleveland Browns. Fresh off our first home win for our Vikes. Now it's time for the true test. Can they get back to 500? Buckle up, fans in the comments. Let's go. Eric, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. We were both in the stadium to watch that first win of 2021. It was so great. It was loud. The atmosphere was back. Like, that was the most normal I have felt watching sports in almost 2 years. And it was the Vikings. I mean, they put on a show. It looked like the same old for those first 3 Seattle drives, but then they shut it down after that. Vikings only had 8 drives, went 50 yards or more and scored on 6 of them. And, that 8th drive was just a punt at the end. So, if they can keep that going against Browns team that's probably better than the Seattle team they just faced, I think we can start, getting our hopes up and starting to believe again. But it's a big test coming this Sunday.
Big test. Let's get started, Dave. Let's get the countdown going. Eric, I know you like those snowflakes coming down for that home opener during the intro.
Oh, that was pretty sweet. That was some good production, putting the technology to use. All right, let's get it started.
All right. First question though, real quick. Heat check right now. Are the Vikings better without Dalvin Cook?
I saw this. I saw your question. This is super hot takey, but people are actually asking it, so I will address it. Absolutely not. No, Dalvin Cook is better than Alexander Madison. This is not debatable. We know this. And then the Viking. But what about they depend on Dalvin Cook too much? You know how many touches they gave Alexander Madison on Sunday? I think it was 33, something like
A
that.
whole
26
lot.
carries and 7
30.
receptions. Yeah,
Yeah, 8
I mean,
targets.
it's super great that they have a dependable backup running back. That's very necessary with someone like Cook, who has been injury prone in his career. It's nice that Madison still he still brings a lot to the table, but there is no doubt that the game plan is executed even better with Dalvin Cook. That offensive line performance against Seattle was outstanding. They set some great blocks for him. Their assignments were great. The pass blocking was good, especially in the screen game. I thought they did an amazing job there. But I think, as well as Madison did, no complaints for his performance. I think Cook does even better. So no, that I get what people are getting at, like, oh, they depend on Cook too much. There's too many touches. That the offense completely has to run through him, and when he's out, then they can be more creative. No, they weren't. They just executed better. Like,
Yeah.
the offense was exactly the same. It's nice that you have a running back where it doesn't fall off that much, but absolutely not. Get out of here with that.
Exactly. Yeah, and Dave's trying to get me going on this, like asking, did they call the game differently and no more? Like, let's think
No.
about this. Like, when did Dalvin Cook actually get injured? When was he declared out for the game? It wasn't until Saturday night, Saturday during the day into Sunday morning that we
Yeah, it
knew
wasn't for sure
that.
until Sunday morning. Yeah.
Right. So Clint Kubiak was game planning all week as if Dalvin Cook was going to be the go-to guy, and he just happened not to be healthy enough to play. It's not like he just tore up his game plan Sunday morning and went and invented a new, more efficient game plan somehow because he had Alex Madison instead of Dalvin Cook. Just none of this adds up. The Vikings are just better with Dalvin Cook, and that's great. He's a great player. They scored on average 3 points more per game with Dalvin Cook than without Dalvin Cook. Let's put this to bed.
Right. And, like, again, you can make an argument for the whole are the running backs worth the contract and all that stuff. That's a valid argument, especially after a game where Madison performed just as well. But as far as them being a better team, absolutely not. All right. So my first one, pretty simple one, straightforward too. Can Kirk Cousins keep this up? He looked pretty dang good on Sunday, and what a 3 games, his best 3-game start of his career by far so far in this season.
As Everson Griffin would say, Kirk is balling right now. And it's funny because I know you in the stadium, you saw that bonehead play where it was like a 3rd down and his shoe was coming off. So he just decided, instead of taking a timeout, he decided to play the play, he just threw the shoe like 5 yards behind him. And you're like, Kirk, what are you doing? So often in some of these moments when Kirk cools off these hot streaks, it's not because he's changing his game plan or who he's throwing to. He's just starting to make some of the really bonehead mistakes. He's starting to throw interceptions. He's starting to fumble the ball. And I just don't see that happening with Kirk behind the offensive line that he's playing in front behind right now. The offensive talent looks very improved. The offensive line is allowing less pressures, and Kirk's playing more confident behind that. He's got the strong running game. He's got a wide receiver 3 who's emerged. It's just all these things around him are really working and gelling right now. And the Vikings are healthy and getting healthier. So when we talk about Kirk Cousins, some of the knocks against him, about him being a game manager, about him being a system QB, somebody who needs good surroundings to play great. Well, he has those surroundings right now. And the biggest one of all is Clint Kubiak. I believe in Clint Kubiak. Wow.
So far, so good. Right.
So far, so good. The play designs have been next level. He's figured out a way to elevate Kirk even more, not using the bootlegs, not using the play action again. I mean, once we start to use play action, this offense can really take off. This is repeatable, what I'm seeing from Kirk Cousins. What do you think?
Yeah, and I really think it's Kirk Cousins has always kind of been more of a function of the team around him than he is, affecting the team around him, which is for good and bad because to be, when I've said this for years, basically since Kirk Cousins arrived in Minnesota, he can absolutely take you to a Super Bowl. He can win the title with you, but he's not going to do it by himself. That's kind of, and when you're paying him that much, there's all sorts of arguments to be made with the team building and everything. It makes the degree of difficulty a lot tougher. But when things are going as planned, there is no one really. I mean, I would take Cousins just with about any other quarterback. It's the improvisation that really gets to him. But when the offense really is clicking like it was against the Seattle, and basically all 3 games, I mean, the offense for what they did, I mean, when they weren't committing penalties in week 1 against the Bengals team that's getting exposed right now on Thursday night as we're speaking here, it's like they have really they have moved the ball consistently all 3 games so far, and it's just a matter of staying out of their own way and hoping that the defense can make a couple stops, which they finally did on Sunday. So yeah, he's really like this is Kirk Cousins, and I think it's a little simplifying to say that the fact, okay, this is just Kirk Cousins. This is who he's always been. He is playing at a really high level, and I think some of those leadership things that Mike Zimmer has been talking about, it sounds like he's taking a little more control of the day. He's being more of a quarterback. He's not just being a football player. He's not being this autonomous. Okay, if this is open, I'm throwing here. If this is open, I'm throwing here. His progressions seem really fast this year. I mean, he's always been pretty good with that, but he seems like he's making his reads a lot quicker. He seems really comfortable in this offense. So yeah, I think he can keep it up. Again, and this is going to be a really good test because I think that they're going to get thrown off schedule a few times by Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. That's a tough line to go against, and especially if they get any kind of. I mean, I think the Bears maybe got the Browns a little overconfident because they were just an absolute mess on offense. I think it's going to be a lot. I don't think they're going to completely ruin it, but it's going to be a much tougher task. So this is going to be a really good test. If they do get thrown off schedule, can Kirk keep on making these runs? I mean, like that one where that zero blitz that Seattle had, and he still made the pass across the way.
Man, it's all pre-snap. They're dialed in pre-snap, and that's what allows plays like that KJ Osborne play to happen. But like you said, it's will if we see him fumble, if we see him throw an interception, how does he bounce back? That's really the last thing we're waiting for before we actually start, talking about Kirk in 3-letter words.
Okay, yeah, let's pump the brakes on that. But hey, win a few more games. Well, let's talk about it. Okay, what's your next question?
Okay. Who is the most surprising Vikings player so far this season?
I mean, I gotta go with the obvious one here. I mean, we've already
Mhm.
touched on him a little bit. We talk about the fact that he does have a third wide receiver option. I thought before the season it was going to be rookie Amir Smith-Marset, but this is KJ Osborne's world, and we're just living in it. I mean, he has really 3 games in a row now. I saw a graphic today that he is among the league leaders in um, reception yards over expected, which is really big,
Yeah.
especially for a third wide receiver. He's getting a lot of targets and he's making the most of them. I mean, he has been such a pleasant surprise, basically since the beginning, at the outset of training camp, just to see the night and day difference. Again,
Hmm.
maybe he had a little bit of this in him last year, but he couldn't get on the field on the offense. All he was an
Sure.
okay returner last year. And just the fact that, I mean, that we were trotting out Chad Beebe in that position last year, like, and like and just the upgrade that he is over there. And again, BB has his
Oh my
strengths. He's
goodness.
an okay gunner, but I think everyone, every Vikings fan will agree that the production and the efficiency that we're getting out of that third wide receiver spot it's pretty amazing what we're seeing out of Osborne, and with the attention the defenses have to pay to Thielen and Jefferson, there's no reason to believe, even if
Right.
secondary is loaded, he's going to see a lot of single coverage, and he seems to be that great third wide receiver. So, did I take your answer? I mean, that's I feel like the
No,
obvious one. There's one more on the
no,
obvious one.
you
There's one
didn't.
more on the offense. Okay.
Yeah, well, on Osborne, because he was up there for me. He wasn't number one. Like 7 first downs on 14 targets is amazing. And people are comparing
Right.
him to Jarius Wright. That's better than Jarius Wright. He hasn't dropped a pass. I think Tyler Conklin is another name that people are mentioning. That's not where I'm going, though. I'm going with most surprising Bashad Breeland. Like, I didn't like the signing when it happened, but oh wow, this is appalling. This is like, wow, you cannot play. And another thing about Breland, I'm just gonna be honest, I'm not about the tweeting. Like, when you mess up, don't just tweet about it like that's your way to improve yourself. Come on, dude. You're tweeting every 2 weeks. You're tweeting because you got burned. You got burned by Tyreek Hill in the preseason. You tweet about it. You get burned by Jamar Chase. You're like, my bad. You get burned by DK. You're like, I'll take that on the chin again this week. He's saying again now because he's like admitting that he's playing so badly in back to back weeks. So I'm not gonna make a comment on Cameron Dantzler here, but I am just gonna say real quick that Bashad Breeland, so we all know, 257 yards allowed, 86 yards per game, worst in the NFL. 40 touchdowns allowed, worst in the NFL. 6 missed tackles, worst in the NFL. Nobody saw him being that bad.
Yeah, I mean, well, my next question might have touched on this a little bit too, but I think we got to give a shout out to Ole Udo too. I mean, that's a
Right.
pretty big
Yeah.
surprise. That was my other
Yep.
option. I mean, to have a competent right guard come out of nowhere like that, I mean, thank the football gods for that, because that's a huge thing. So, well,
That's
I
good.
might have taken your answer for this one, because that's my next
And
question. Who has been the most disappointing Vikings player? I think you kind of touched on yours. Are there any other ones that jump out, or is it just Breland across the board? Because if you just count the yards that Breland has a lot, so basically the wide receiver on
yeah.
that's being guarded by Breland would be, I think, 11th in the NFL in receptions, or in receiving yards
Wow.
this year. Yeah, so
That is a
just him,
stat.
just him. That would be, I think,
Just him.
I look, yeah, like 11th or 12th in the entire NFL. Just this stuff caught on Breland this so far in the
Wow.
first 3 games.
And quick shout out to Clifford, Viking Jerome, Mary Fisk, Seth. Love
For
seeing you. We're
sure.
moving fast here. It's Viking Hot Takes. Okay, my most disappointing Vikings player this season. I actually have a different answer here because I do have hope for the young guys. And so here I want to go with DJ Wanham. He really hasn't progressed, and that's disappointing in year 2 for him. Only 3 pressures. He's losing snaps to Everson Griffin. So I'm not even sure how you use him in big games right now. So that's kind of my disappointment mark. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, Bonham is a really good choice, and he was definitely in my top 3. I think Breland is probably my most disappointing overall, just because, again, the stats we just rattled
Mhm.
off. It's got to be Cam Dantzler time. I don't think, and again, we always should be cautious with with asking, it can't be any worse, because it usually can be with the Vikings. But
He's a
yeah,
tweeter
Wonham, I
too.
mean, yep, and Wonham and Griffin played the exact same amount of snaps on Sunday, and I totally forgot Wonham was out there half the time.
Yeah.
Like, that was when he was out there. He just hasn't made as much of an impact. We still always love him for the great sack against Aaron Rodgers last year. But man, we thought they was going to have some more momentum with there. Another one, again, this isn't his fault, but I really want to see Anthony Barr on the field again. Like, I miss
Yeah.
him. It's been
Yeah.
over a year. Like, it's not, it's not like he's playing possum or anything, but it's been really disappointing not to have that catalyst on the field, because I really think they could be doing more interesting things with linebacker. Because again, Nick Vigil has been okay.
Right.
He's and he's
Yep.
filling in, but he's kind of the more of a generic plug and play weak side linebacker. He's not going to do as much of the flashy plays. He's not going to. You can't line him up in as many spots as you could with Anthony Barr, especially with a couple of the wrinkles that the defense is showing. So
Right.
I'm just personally disappointed that I think he could be a big part of this defense, and hopefully he can come back and make a difference in this defense that still needs to improve if the Vikings want to get to where they're going.
Yep, I agreed there. And Clifford's saying Sheldon Richardson too. He's kind of somebody to watch. But week 4, hopefully we get Anthony Barr back, and that's another boost for the defense. Let's go to the next
Sure.
question. All right, Eric, for you, is this the best that the Cleveland Browns have ever been?
Yes, if you're considering this just the Cleveland Browns 2.0. Since 1999, since they returned to the league after their 4 or 5 year hiatus or whatever, when the Baltimore stole them, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
that team, since 1999, since the remix, basically the 2.0, they have only made the playoffs twice
Yeah.
since 1999. And last year was their best team by far. They were best record. They 11-5. They made the playoffs, and I think this year's iteration is better than that. Like, they look
Yeah.
like they look the part. I mean, they are a couple plays away against Kansas City from being 3-0 heading into this game, and they look pretty impressive in their last 2 wins too. But before that, I don't know. I mean, this team definitely has the potential to be the best Browns team probably ever, but you got to give some credit. I mean, the 86 and 87 teams that got their hearts ripped out
Yeah.
by John Elway and the Broncos, those are really good teams too. Both obviously had very good chances, probably should have gone to the Super Bowl that year, or those years. And you got to give, the 50s and 60s teams that won the NFL championships before there were any Super Bowls. They had that Jim Brown guy. He's pretty good. Like, basically Jim Brown was like the best athlete in 4 sports or something in college, including the NFL when he got done with that. So,
Yeah.
yes, since 1999, absolutely the best Browns team. All time, to be decided, but they have potential. I mean, this is a loaded roster that they have. What do you
I
think?
don't think 1.0 counts. I mean, maybe that's just me, but you kind of, from
They're
a
the same
fan
page on
standpoint.
they're the same page on Football Reference, but yes, I mean, that's, you kind of do have to separate there.
Like, so the last time the Vikings played the Browns, they were 0-8. We played them in London, and they ended up going 0-16 that year. I had to
Yep.
look it up. The Vikings have never played Browns 2.0 when the Browns had a winning record. This is the first time ever that we've played the 2.0 Browns with a winning record. The last time they had a win. The Vikings have never played the Browns with a win to their name that season, unless you go back all the way to 2005. And that game, that season, they finished 6-10. That game, Brad Johnson threw 3 touchdown passes to Marcus Robinson in 2005. But like, this is just so different. What's going to happen on Sunday compared to what we're usually thinking about when we play the Cleveland Browns. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a team even this year, because they lost week 1. I think they're 0-17-1 in their last 18 week ones. So they're usually starting out with a losing record, and the Vikings playing pretty sparingly. I just hope it goes a lot better than that the 2013 game at that was
don't
embarrassing.
remind me. Don't remind me.
All right, we got 2 minutes left, so let's wrap up with the last one.
Real
Speaking of this
quick.
good Cleveland team, if what worries you the most about them? Their run game, their pass rush, or their coach?
Okay, so I'm not about the narrative. It's not the coach. The coach does not worry me. Maybe I'm being naive, but only a few coaches in the NFL truly worry me. And like Kevin Stefanski is not one of them because he's got the talent. And I think the Browns, when you look at them, it's the talent that worries you. Having to pick between the run game and the pass rush, I think what makes a difference here is their offensive line. Some of those guys are injured, so we may be getting a break here, but like Batonio, Wills, Treader, Teller, Conklin, they're actually second on Football Outsiders in adjusted line yards, and that is terrifying against the Vikings run defense right now. So we paid Michael Pierce, we paid Dalvin Tomlinson for this type of game. All 15 defenders, when they get into the game on Sunday, they have to tackle better. And, Chubb and Hunt are feasting right now. So without that effort, I don't know how we stop the run game. That's what scares me most.
Yeah, then I have 2 words to rebut that. Myles Garrett, he scares the living daylights out of me. What he did to the Bears last week. Again, the Bears have a mess of an offensive line. They make the Vikings look like the 92 Cowboys. But it is that he can destroy the game by himself. He lined up inside a lot. He warped inside on that one play. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. He basically like teleported one side over. I'm probably still most worried about the rush as well. But the pass rush could destroy what the Vikings have been doing the most successfully is Kirk Cousins flinging the ball over the field. And if that gets short-circuited again, I don't know if the defense can hold up enough. Even if they play better against the run than they have the first 3 games, it's going to be a real challenge if they aren't moving the ball consistently and keeping it out of that offensive.
Ooh, that was fast. Sorry, Mr. Shea. The show is over. I'm going to leave y'all with one stat on Nick Chubb. 5.5 yards per attempt, first in the NFL. 3.8 yards after contact. 17 missed tackles forced. 4 runs over 15 yards. All first in the NFL.
And then they have Kareem Hunt just to spell him.
Just
catch the ball in the backfield like crazy. Yeah,
he's averaging 5.7, and he actually leads the Browns in receiving right now. But hey, we're ready for this game, and we're ready to give our score predictions. Eric, you first.
I really want to, I love the momentum. I love how the Vikings are playing. And if they lose this game, the season isn't over. Like, this is a good Browns team. This is one of the best teams in the AFC. I think they're going to, at this rate, probably run away with their division unless Baltimore can figure it out because the Steelers and Bengals aren't going to do anything. I really want to pick the Vikings. I might. I'm tentatively. I haven't posted the preview yet. That might have to come out. That's later Friday or maybe on Saturday.
Double Doink is saying we win in the comments.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's going to come to turnovers. It's going to come to big plays. Right now, my gut is saying 26-24 Browns. I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I want to keep this going. I want to get to that 2-2. I want to have the 2017 comparisons happening. I think the Browns are a really good team. What about
That's what it comes down to. It's interesting that you say 1-3, that we could be 1-3, but the season won't be over. I think there's going to be some tough times on Twitter when we know we have a good team, but the record doesn't show it. That typically does not end well for the Minnesota Vikings. It's a very common narrative, unfortunately. I'm going to say score prediction a loss. Y'all know I'm cheering for them to win, but I'm going to go 28 Cleveland, 24 Minnesota in this game.
Okay.
And hey,
we're both right around there then, huh? Yeah.
Hopefully I'm wrong just like I was last week. So y'all, that's it.
Yeah. I was right last week, so that I'm due to get one wrong now. So
the hot
we
takes,
both can't be right about it.
Keep on streaming in. Thank y'all for joining this game on TV right now. I guess you can watch it if you got nothing better to do, Mr. Shea. If you missed the show, just run it back. Watch it twice.
Yeah, we're on YouTube. Get that link.
Ring the bell. Subscribe. Anything you need to do to get some hot takes in your weekly diet, we're here all season long. Thank you so much, Eric, for joining me. Dave, let's close out the show. Put on the music.
Thank
Go
you for
Vikes.
watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please
I don't
rate
know
us on
if
your
people are seeing you or seeing the rollout.
Skol.
I think they're seeing me, so I'm just gonna keep.
It looks like